I have to say I'm flattered with the dramatic presentation of this titling, Timeless Desolation. I love the illustration. And it fits with the energy of 1977 and the grand vibe of such atmospheric craftsmanship on behalf of SIRENIA's credits. And it's as if this track, maybe there's a tragedy to it because, I don't know, maybe it was intended, maybe it was designed that way for me. Because at this point, with this track, once we've included or listened to it together, we've reached the end of 1977. Our journey together as promised, and I deliver on my word for you. I said it would be a fun temptation to go down the entirety of the album. I don't usually do this. It's on a case-by-case basis. But with SIRENIA, many of you know I've been spending the last couple of months being introduced to their talents, and I've taken an extensive look at many of their offerings amidst the Zoldan era. And I'm going to dig back further on my own, but that was where I started in the beginning of Arcane Astral Aeons. Took a bit of a windy road in coverage in terms of the scope of their pieces in a not-so-chronological order, but eventually we arrived at 1977. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself at the time, before I articulated as much in my desire and implication of where we'd be going forward, wouldn't it be great to not only humor the entirety of your first SIRENIA album, but to share in the experience of other prospective listeners and longtime fans of this group? The delight that I'm experiencing, I'm grateful, by the way, that I chose to do this in 1977. The adventurism of this album and how it departs an isolated expression from the other projects of theirs that I'm familiar to, again, framing more of a mainstay SIRENIA presence on production. It's going to make it particularly interesting going forward as well to analyze SIRENIA's progression and evolution from this album, because there is a definitive new voice at play, but in large part, there's just that feeling. Though the SIRENIA essence is not lost at all, it is completely instrumental to the foundation of these pieces. It's just in a subtler expression. At the very least for the first couple of pieces. On the last two we just looked at, there's a heightened presence, which I appreciate, but this album is deeply creative. It's really anything that SIRENIA has published that I've witnessed has been. I mean, I've really come to fall in a deep love with this group. Maybe you're not familiarized to them and you're a fresh entrance on this video. We've reached the conclusion of the album, so I would highly recommend going back in the beginning of 1977 where we've journeyed together. But to set a baseline for you, Norwegian symphonic gothic metal with so much atmosphere and ability on part of every band member. From the percussion use, the guitar and the bass application to the vocal set. I've said it many times, Emmanuelle Zoldan has become one of my favorite vocalists I've ever been graced with. She's just exquisite in delivery. I love her. You talk about grand orchestral presentations and the woman is just like an angel in the scene. It's like a vocal goddess. Little G, but I love her. Anyway, and if you're into operatic vocals, man, she just kills it. And that last track, I can't get over how good that was. I've been begging for a little more of an operatic flair, and you get a taste of it there. It's so nice. But I will consider Timeless Desolation on its own regard. Maybe we'll see that pop up again. I don't know. But it's kind of bittersweet that we've wrapped up our SIRENIA journey here, but we had a great time, didn't we? I love taking the experience of you. As I've said many times, music for me is a definitive first love in my life. It's been for many years, and it's been a long-standing ambition to showcase it in a grander manner on this channel, specifically on the fellowship aspect, that we can entertain good art together. And SIRENIA 100% qualifies in that. I feel honored to be showcasing such gifts in the music scene, especially of the European rock and metal regard, which if you've never set foot in, maybe SIRENIA will be your first entrance point. It will become an addicting journey that you will not want to leave, I promise you. I haven't. I've loved every step of the way, and SIRENIA has been a great talent to humor. I hope you experience the same if this is the first introduction for you. Or if it's not, maybe you haven't yet listened to Timeless Desolation, you're going to do that with me, or maybe you have, so you're getting the perspective of somebody who's entertaining this on a first impression basis. Any way we approach, let's enjoy the last work of 1977 together. Well, technically that's the cover, but in terms of original tracks, that's this debut. At least in our journey it is. We've entertained everything else, and the entirety of the album has been quite refreshing and interesting to witness. So let's see where Timeless Desolation floats in territory. More ambitious and new voice, or more mainstay SIRENIA? It could go either way. Let's experience it. I was wondering, it's going to start out, it's going to linger with that softer, suppressed pacing style. No, we got the harder riff to mix in. Do good support. Puts it in good time with the rest of the album. like chord plucking again. What track was it that appeared on it too? It was either Fading to the Deepest Black or Once Away, or Oceans Away. But it was a cool intrusion there. It's nice to hear it again. I really love their presentations. And the choir echo is so nice, or at least the choir simulation.
Embraced by life's degeneration, yet another loss. What is life but pure damnation?
I love how that accent is stressed. Just so beautiful hearing Emmanuel sing. We've gotten a whole album of it. Nice place for a key change. At least even just a subtle constriction. Let's see which path this takes. If it's more stretched or contained. No, it's contained. Okay. And the familiar guitar break. That's been persistent on every work thus far. The key structure to this one. No more scale on the notes, though. Usually there's a higher inflection point on the end with a snare, but this one diverges a bit. Nice break.
Timeless loss and timeless affliction. It's all there ever was. Another strife.
Wonderful idea. I was going to say the softness of his piece is a good decision on it being a conclusion work to the original articulation of this, apart from the cover. Especially that effect on the end. Perfect navigation. Loved that element. The high degree of modulation suppressing the voice really illustrates that feeling that it's supposed to be, again, the wind down aspect. Though we've been at a bit of an emotional high the past two works of Dopamine and Delirium, I've been incredibly impressed, especially on the last one, but this is our wrap up. So it makes sense to take the track in a much softer presence. With some fun return elements, though. I mean, again, this has the mimicked ballad structure of some of the other works on the album for certain, but it's much softer in delivery. Mixed with, again, I don't know what tool that is, but that chord plucking, I just love that sound effect, and that's all over the place here, especially in the isolation between, I think it's maybe the bridge to the chorus. I think it's where it was. I forget at the moment in where it was specifically. But as a transitional element mixed in with that isolation to let it stand out, good choices. Such nuances to this album, but from each piece, I really admire, on an individual basis, each work, and there's been ones that have stood out to me maybe more so than most, but each piece has been incredible to entertain on part of its individual vision and elements. There's been some sort of signature vibe that makes each song stand out apart from the others. That snare, to revive it, it's a good echo effect. I forget again where it appeared previously. That was either Fading to the Deepest Black or Oceans Away. I think it was one of those. I don't think it was 1,000 Scars. Oh no, it could have been that one. I don't know. There's been how many tracks? Do forget me, maybe I'm a little misinformed on this front. But I'm trying to go off memory here. I think it might have been... You know, this album's softer sections, now that I think about it... Let me reference this quickly, just to make sure I'm getting this accurate. Because now that I'm thinking on 1,000 Scars... Yeah, it's 1,000 Scars. The softness of the verse structures, that is actually in perfect parallel, even with the key choice. It's a fitting compliment. I don't know. It's curious to see that pairing, but the association is pretty direct. It almost feels like a bit of a reprisal of sorts, even though it's a different song. That's cool, though. I like how they brought that back. Interesting personality to the song, again, that makes it feel like it's a bit of an isolated standing, yet paired accordingly to the remainder of the album. This definitely feels like a concluding work, and I appreciate that vision to it. And its choices, though, especially on the ending, I quite loved. Man, that's good. And now that I kind of read the... Hang on, I'm floating back in my memory again to 1,000 Scars. Well, on the verse structure, that's kind of isolated to its own work, reminiscent of some of the other songs. But that wasn't... Yeah, that wasn't as clear with 1,000 Scars. This is a different choice. There's some cohesion in tone, and yet there's still some isolation that makes it set adrift in its own manner, like every other SIRENIA track on this album to some degree has been. But in general, 1977, as a project in unison, I love its independent vision. I love the adventurism of it. I'm grateful that I chose this album to be my first entrance, especially in public disclosure and entertainment, right? We're enjoying this one together. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below as well, where this track stands in lineup for you in consideration of the entire album's construction, as well as, 1977 as a whole. What do you think of it? How does it stand out for you apart from other SIRENIA releases? And what angle do you approach in consideration? Longtime fan, first introduction? I'd love to hear about it down below. I'm grateful that I followed through on my temptation to humor it. You got the first experience with me of witnessing an entire SIRENIA album in full. As I said, my intention is to dig back into their earlier catalog on my own, but I couldn't shake the vibe, when I first thought about it, like, you should do the entire album. I'm grateful I did. Going forward, of course, in judgment, that'll help us, in navigating consideration of where whatever next project comes from SIRENIA and whatever single, we get to see the build, right, and the growth and the progression. Maybe some change, maybe a return to the mainstay, who knows? But I appreciated this journey with you. As I've said many times, I love to honor good art, and I feel I have such a deep reverence for SIRENIA. I love being able to showcase them on the channel. I'm part of that good art attribution and to share my interest with you, and maybe compel you to look deeper if you haven't yet. I hope 1977 was everything you wanted. It starts you down the SIRENIA route. If you've not gone, you're in the position that I was a little while ago. I've not regretted one step. I know you won't either. As far as I'm concerned with the future of SIRENIA, I can't wait for more. Doors open, as always. I'm looking forward to whatever graces us next, because 1977 and its evolution, along with Timeless Desolation and its own standalone creativity, it's a wonderful project to humor. I loved every minute of it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.